competitive vehicle, we'll pay you $500 cash. Take the Volkswagen Challenge at North Point Volkswagen today.
Have a safe and happy New Year's from KATV, the Spirit of Arkansas.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Ned Permy. A very cold and breezy night tonight behind a cold front. We'll see lows dropping off to 30 degrees, winds out of the northwest, 12 to 22 miles an hour. Winds about the same at least the early part of tomorrow with a high temperature of only 41. That's going to be a 20-degree drop in temperatures from today to tomorrow. And then on your New Year's night, look for a low of 22. And a little bit of a warming trend sets in just in time for the weekend with a slight chance of rain.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Powell. We're here in Little Rock's River Market, where, as you can tell, we're planning a little bit of a trip all about Arkansas. We're about ready to leave. So if you're not doing anything for the next 30 minutes, why not come along with us?
I personally believe he was probably the greatest frontier hero in the United States history.
Are you twins? Are you twins?
Yeah.
Or which one are you?
Yeah, which one are you?
Austin, Dustin, Dustin, Austin. I mean, you got a 50-50 shot.
Just guess.
1814, we took a little trip, along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little baby.
Well, gee willikers, boys and girls, welcome to the Bozo Big Top Show.
I'm looking forward to the 90-year-old record, which should be a piece of cake.
Discovering all about Arkansas is usually something we do on Sunday nights here at Channel 7. But for this special broadcast, we thought we'd revisit some of the people we've met over the last year. If you're ready, we're ready. Well, but before we get out of Arkansas's biggest town, let's start with a story on Arkansas's biggest clown. Back then, there were just a handful of TV stations. Viewers were switching over to living color for the first time. And afternoons in Arkansas belonged to one name. Bozo was huge by any measure. An after-school addiction for kids across the state. They soaked up the cartoons and dreamed of the day they would finally make it into the big top. This was a winning formula, worked to perfection by the man behind the nose.
Well, gee willikers, boys and girls, welcome to the Bozo Big Top Show.
Gary Weir was Arkansas's Bozo for 25 years. But even before that, Bozo was a clown who'd been around.
It began as a voice on a children's record. A guy named Pinto Colvig actually did the voice, and he also did the voice of Goofy for Disney.
It sold 1 million copies, and soon Bozos began popping up on local stations across the country. KATV brought it here, and 23-year-old Gary brought it to life by asking the important questions.
Do you walk to school or carry lunch?
Every Bozo had his Rudy Kazooties and Wowie Kazows, but unlike his clown contemporaries, Gary didn't try to steal the show.
I said, we need to make the children the star of the show and Bozo the host. Let the kids, let's put them in the spotlight.
And they were. The waiting list eventually grew to 5 years. It was never too early to make a reservation.
Ladies who were just pregnant would call us and say, I'm going to have a baby such and such, or we wouldn't even have a name. So we'd just put down Susie Jones to be determined.
There were Bozo hot dogs, Bozo pop, Bozo was on the milk and in the mall. At the height of his popularity, the clown owned the town. But even then, Gary was determined to keep his identity hidden from his young audience. He didn't even tell his own kids about his day job.
I hid everything. You know, now I caught my little girl Mandy looking into the closet one time and looking at those pair of big shoes that I had at the house. She said, Daddy, I know who Bozo is. I said, oh, you do? And she said, yes, and Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, too.
Sadly, there is precious little footage left anywhere. You can only imagine all those excited kids and maybe how Bozo handled the ones who were too excited.
I'd walk over and and say, "Hey, little pal," and grab him and shake his hand. And as I was talking to him, I would squeeze it just a little bit tighter. Say, "Let's don't be doing that anymore." And his eyes would get big, and when Bozo would walk away, I had his attention.
It's been 16 years since Weir and Bozo went their separate ways. He's still occasionally filling big shoes with his Clowntown appearances. His biggest passion these days is reserved for his thoroughbred horses. He owns a few and watches them all.
You're pretty.
His Oaklawn Report telecasts have become a staple for Arkansas race fans.
We just completed our 13th year as the host of that show. So when we start something, we try to stick with it, you know.
He says it's too bad, really, that Bozo isn't running anymore, but understands how kids and kids' television has changed.
It might be too slow for the children this day and time. However, it seems to me like it's something a station ought to try again.
In the end, he was Bozo, the world's most famous clown, longer than anyone else anywhere. His now grown-up pals remind him almost daily of the big times in the big top. He's flattered they remember, but really, how could they forget?
Getting answers.
You think you can trust somebody, they earn your trust.
Exploring the loopholes.
What do you want from me? You agree? You want my autograph? I want you to pay these people back.
Asking why.
I drive by there some days. I see him sitting on the front porch. Like I said, this morning we saw him walking down the avenue. So his life is normal.
The court ruled that we were 2 days beyond speedy trial.
Channel 7 News investigates. Heather Crawford and Jason Peterson. 7 on your side and 7 News investigations.
As you know, the Humane Society of Pulaski County depends solely on you for financial support.
And a great way to show your support is to buy the 2008 Day Planner.
It's got over 200 photographs of pets and their owners, plenty of space for daily notes, and it's just $25. Get your Day Planner at area retail stores this fall.
It also makes a great holiday gift.
And it's a great way to show your support for the Humane Society of Pulaski County. The animals are depending on you.
In a state where the weather is always changing,
we have the largest and best team of meteorologists.
And when the big story breaks,
we're there first.
News happens at all hours.
That's why we're here, to start your day. In a state where we're hog wild about sports,
Hog Central brings you the latest from the Hill.
It's where family comes first.
Where more Arkansans turn for news.
The most trusted name in Arkansas television.
Channel 7 News, working for you in the spirit of Arkansas.
Hi, welcome back to our All About Arkansas special, and welcome, as the sign says, to Sheridan, a town that's certainly growing, although sometimes it seems like it's doubling or even tripling. Don't believe us? Here's what we mean. At Sheridan High, summer vacation is almost here. The seniors can't wait for the end of the school year. Every graduating class is special, but this one doubly so. You see, this modest-sized outgoing class has an improbable 6 sets of twins. And whatever the odds are of that, they are multiplied again when you add a set of triplets. It's unlikely any class anywhere can duplicate this kind of duplication. Here are the introductions. Meet identical twin brothers Roy and Lowell Ladd. Add in their classmates Caleb and Kyle Valance, who are graduating with Dustin and Justin Wood, who obviously know the DeMoss boys, Dustin and Austin, who could spend time with fraternal twin sisters, Caitlin and Bethany Mitchell, as well as brother and sister, Hunter and Haley Griffith. And to go one better, here are identical triplets, Beth, Lisa, and Holly Allen. This may seem like absolute twinsanity, but being a part of a set is all they know. And when you ask what it's like, they don't have to think twice.
The most asked question of any twins is, are you twins?
Yeah, it's extremely annoying when someone calls me Roy.
Oh, yeah.
And when someone calls him me. I don't know.
Yeah, our best friends.
Yeah, a bit like people we're around every day.
It's so funny to sit there and see how they
react when we tell them that we're not the one that they think we were.
Which one are you?
Austin, Dustin, Dustin, Austin. I mean, you got a 50-50 shot.
Just guess.
Remember, they've been in class with each other since kindergarten. In fact, that's the first time we found them literally hanging around together.
It must be the water. How else could one kindergarten class in a town of 3,000 have 6 sets of twins and 1 set of triplets?
And so here they are, 13 years later, grown up and still enjoying a special kinship with their twinship.
Yeah, we all kind of stay in a little group together.
It's kind of hard to tell them apart, ain't it? Especially the triplets, huh?
Since we're triplets, there's a little bit more of us.
They don't believe us when we tell them
Yeah,
we're twins.
we're like, we're twins. No, you're not. It's not very many people that have a twin, and so you have that same person with you almost 24/7.
We still match sometimes. No, we don't.
This will probably be one of the last times they are all matched up together. They'll go their separate ways after graduation. But what a night it'll be in cap and gown inside Alltel Arena. Tough to beat, 6 pairs and 3 of a kind in front of a full house. It's unlikely anyone will ever see a repeat of this. Hats off to them, and here's hoping their good fortune will continue to multiply. Well, we go from twins to a man who was certainly one of a kind. We're in Mountain View at the fabulous Ozark Folk Center, a place that the legendary Jimmy Driftwood helped put on the map. Now, Driftwood died years ago, but thanks to his music, his legacy lives on. Here's a story of one truly unique Arkansan.
I had a cow that slobbered bad down in the Arkansas.
There's never been anybody quite like Jimmy Driftwood.
I asked him what to do for it down in the Arkansas.
He sang some of the best stories ever heard, even if it was to a herd. The Ozark folk tales he brought to life made him famous, but the story of his own life is just as good.
Oh, come on, babies!
Back before the fame, when he was just Jimmy Morris, a local school teacher with a novel approach to teaching history.
He knew that just lecturing wasn't getting through to the student, so he wanted a different method. So what he would do was write song poems.
Word of his classroom singing got around, and that's really how a Memphis professor in town looking for folk tunes found him in 1951.
The postmistress says, you ought to look up Jimmy Morris. Said he knows every old song that was ever sung in this county, and he knows all the old people, he knows all their songs.
Professor John Quincy Wolfe Jr. Encourages him to take his act to Nashville. He thinks he's good enough.
He eventually did just that. Now known as Jimmy Driftwood, he landed an audition with a couple of up-and-coming record producers. One, a young Chet Atkins.
By the time Jimmy goes to Nashville, he's 50 years old, and not many people break into the business for the first time at age 50. His story was that he didn't really knock them dead all that much. And one last desperate attempt started strumming the Battle of New Orleans.
Well, in 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi.
The 18-year-old classroom song changed everything. A recording contract with RCA followed, and so did a huge hit song. But it wasn't Jimmy's version.
Not many people know this, but his version had a couple of curse words in it. So it was banned from primetime radio play.
It was Johnny Horton's cleaned-up version that went to #1. Still, Jimmy reaped the rewards.
It's the most popular song, pop or country, in the year 1959. Spends weeks and weeks at the top of the charts, and Jimmy Driftwood becomes a household name.
And that year, the hits kept coming.
In September of 1959, on the Country and Western Top 30 chart, 5 of the songs had been written by Jimmy Driftwood.
And he received 3 Grammys at the end of 1959.
The chart-topping success faded in the 60s, but his fame remained, mostly through the Ozark Folk Festival. Jimmy, always with wife Cleta by his side, loved the professional acclaim. But together, they endured great personal tragedy. None of their 4 children would live to adulthood.
One died at childbirth, one died of acute appendicitis, and then 2 of the boys died from gunshot wounds.
With no heirs, he left everything to the University of Central Arkansas, the place he'd received his teaching degree.
This guitar was made by his grandfather, And he made this guitar out of the headboard of a bed, a pine rail fence, and a oxen yoke.
That could have been another of Jimmy's stories. He always seemed to leave a little room for embellishment.
This is a pair of shoes that belongs to a man who's still living. Those are 44s.
Jimmy died at age 91, still singing the praises of his beloved Ozarks. And he's still revered as one of our greatest folk artists. Not bad for an old school teacher with old songs and an even older guitar. Still ahead on our All About Arkansas special, the 80-year-old pole vaulter who might just be the most impressive athlete in the state. And coming up next, Biscuit and I are headed to the frontier.
Did you know that wetlands are one of the world's most valuable places? It's true. I'm Morgan Freeman, speaking on behalf of Ducks Unlimited, world's leader in wetlands and waterfowl conservation. Wetlands benefit everyone by filtering and cleaning our water. Wetlands help protect people from damaging storms and help trap and slow floodwaters. Wetlands provide you a location for hunting, fishing, boating, and a place to enjoy nature. And more than 900 species of wildlife depend on wetlands for survival. That's why I'm supporting Ducks Unlimited's work to conserve and restore North America's wetlands. You can help too. Help Ducks Unlimited conserve wetlands by supporting its Wetlands for Tomorrow campaign. Ducks Unlimited. Conservation today, wetlands for tomorrow.
This is Eli Stone. He thought he had it all until he heard the music. On Thursday, January 31st, ABC brings you an incredible new series.
There are those who are sent to us to help us find our way. Some people call them prophets.
Where seeing is believing. Eli Stone. Series premiere Thursday, January 31st at 10/9 Central on ABC.
So the wheels are turning, aren't they?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our All About Arkansas special. This, of course, is how folks used to travel all about Arkansas, especially when Arkansas was the edge of the frontier. Well, here's the story of a frontier hero you've probably never heard of. Meet Bass Reeves. A rare picture of the man known as the hanging judge, Isaac C. Parker, administering frontier justice. Today, that courtroom has been dutifully restored at the Fort Smith National Historic Site. From here, Parker sent his rugged band of deputy marshals west into what was then lawless Indian territory to bring back the wanted, preferably alive.
Isaac C. Parker was very determined that deputies would not overstep their bounds. And he knew that the deputies were generally rough characters anyway, because he said you had to have a rough character to catch one.
Art Burton's book, Black Gun, Silver Star, details the life and times of one of those deputies, a man who should be legend, but instead is mostly a footnote. His name was Bass Reeves.
I personally believe he was probably the greatest frontier hero in United States history.
Even though there are just a few photos of Reeves known to exist, the history is clear. His work out there on the edges of civilization is almost unrivaled. Although born an Arkansas slave, he used his courage and cunning to become revered and feared. No one knew the territory like Reeves.
Bass lived with the Seminoles and the Creeks initially, and he learned to speak Muskogee language very fluently.
He was physically imposing too, and he became an expert marksman during the Civil War years. In short, Reeves had skills ideal for a lawman.
After the war, Bass would serve as a guide for deputies.
Eventually, he too was given a badge. It was 1875, and there were few opportunities for black deputy marshals.
He wasn't the first, but he became the most famous.
Reeves did much of his work alone. His record quickly showed quality and quantity.
A lot of the deputies would bring back 4 or 5, 6 criminals. Bass very seldom brought back less than 10. He would bring back 15, 16, 17 at a time.
Bass's reputation grew, and even though he couldn't read or write, he continually outsmarted the men he was pursuing, many times using disguises. Bad guys knew his name, but seldom saw him coming.
If you got Bass Reeves on your trail, you had a problem.
The captured were brought here to the federal jail, a place called Hell on the Border. Those who didn't come peaceably were handled differently. Reeves claimed to have killed 14 men in the line of duty.
The Bass felt that was a manageable number to give the press, and so I think it may have been twice that many people he killed. We know for a fact he killed people at 500 yards. That's a quarter of a mile.
In 1887, Reeves himself was accused of murder, a charge he fought vigorously in this same courtroom. This is a recreation of his trial. He was eventually acquitted and continued doggedly pursuing justice under 7 different marshals. His reputation never waned, even when he became a Muskogee City cop well into his 60s.
I guess his reputation was so great that they said he didn't have one crime while he was on his beat, and they said he always would boast about that.
History shows he captured or killed some of the country's most notorious desperados. His dedication to his job unequaled. He even arrested his own son for murder. Burton says he was a celebrity in his day for good reason.
He had to walk in the valley of death every day for 32 years. And he did it. And he brought back bad people, and he helped folks irregardless of their station in life.
Maybe one day there will be more stories about Bass Reeves, maybe a movie. Maybe he'll take his rightful place next to other frontier heroes. Until then, his record will have to speak for itself.
We call it the spirit of Arkansas.
The natural state we call home. A place rich in history.
The stories we love to tell about the place where we love to live.
In a state where the weather is always changing.
We have the largest and best team of meteorologists
to bring you the forecast day after day.
whether it's sunny or severe.
And when the big story breaks,
We're there first.
We're there live. We report the stories important to you.
what you need to know.
No matter where it takes us.
7 on Your Side is dedicated to protecting you and your money.
News happens at all hours.
That's why we're here, to start your day. In a state where we're hog wild about sports,
Hog Central brings you the latest from the Hill.
But whatever the sport, we've got the bases covered.
We bring you the news, and we have fun too. It's where family comes first.
And we're all about Arkansas.
Where more Arkansans turn for news.
The most trusted name in Arkansas television.
Channel 7 News, working for you in the spirit of Arkansas.
We're headed to North Little Rock, over to Alltel Arena, where inside is the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. And enshrined in there is one of the great track and field athletes in Arkansas history. His name is Earl Bell. He was an Olympic pole vaulter. But these days, Earl Bell may not even be the best pole vaulter in his own family. Reasonable people will tell you what you're about to witness just isn't possible. Men of a certain age can't run this fast or go this high. They've never seen Grandpa. His name is Dr. William Bell. Over and over again, he defies our notions of age and the laws of gravity with equal grace.
Today is my 85th birthday.
The party will have to wait. He's got a busy morning.
First thing I do, I empty out the trash. I'm the janitor, so.
It's not a bad trade-off. He gets to work out at one of the country's best pole vault training centers. Bell Athletics is owned and run by his son, 3-time Olympian and former world record holder Earl Bell. Maybe the son is just returning a favor. It was Grandpa, after all, that got Earl and his brothers vaulting way back in the 60s.
We built a pit in the backyard, and I just got right in there, and I was going to learn how to do this too.
He says he's still learning.
It's a very light pole.
still striving for that extra fraction of an inch.
You always think you can jump a little bit higher.
Just the warm-up alone would wear out most folks. Grandma does keep an eye on him when she can, but he seems to know when enough is enough.
You got to be realistic. I always say, like Clint Eastwood says, you got to know your limitation.
But so far, he's only had to make a few concessions to age.
Forgot to turn my hearing aid off.
It's certainly his approach to fitness that elevates him to heights that are obviously unmatched by anyone else who's been retired for 30 years. Grandpa is literally raising the bar in his sport. You see, each and every up and over is an unofficial world record for his age bracket.
The record is 6 foot 2 3/4 inches, and I start my practice at 6'4", going up to 7'3".
He's headed to Boston to compete in the U.S. Masters, where his coach says he should shatter the official mark.
When he comes in here every day and he breaks the record by 1.5 feet, it just, that is a record. I think if he's able to duplicate that in Boston this coming week, that it's going to be a record that's going to stand for a long, long time.
Rewriting record books is really nothing new. He still holds marks he set the first time he competed, back when he was a much younger man.
I didn't know what to expect, but it ended up I beat everybody about a foot, and I set a record for a 73-year-older.
And this time around, he doesn't have to worry about his fellow competitors.
Well, there's just nobody in my age group that's still vaulting.
They're certainly not sprinting. An 85-year-old world record holder who might just beat you in a foot race. And just when you thought it couldn't get more remarkable,
he was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, see, prostate cancer, and that's why it's really slowed him down. The doctor says, well, you're probably already too weak to jump, but he never did.
He's in the rocking chair only long enough to take off his track shoes.
I'm looking forward to the 90-year-old record, which should be a piece of cake.
Who could ever doubt him? He's a biological wonder who makes you wonder, what will I be doing on my 85th birthday? At least now we have someone to look up to. By the way, Grandpa Bell broke that record in Boston by 1.5 feet, and that's about the highest point I could think to end our trip on. I want to remind you that all of our All About Arkansas segments can be found at our website, KATV.com, and we look forward to bringing you new segments every Sunday night on Nightside. Hope you had as much fun as we did, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Getting answers.
You think you can trust somebody, they earn your trust.
Exploring the loopholes.
What do you want from me? You agree. You want my autograph? I want you to pay these people back.
Asking why.
I drive by there some days, I see him sitting on the front porch. Like I said, this morning we saw him walking down the avenue. So his life is normal.
The court ruled that we were 2 days beyond speedy trial.
Channel 7 News investigates. Heather Crawford and Jason Peterson. 7 on your side and 7 News investigations.
You could qualify for a free phone. TAP, the Telecommunications Access Program, provides telephone equipment to eligible Arkansans. So if you're hard of hearing, deaf and blind, or have a speech, visual, mobility, or cognitive impairment that prevents you from using a standard telephone, call TAP at 800-981-4463. That's 800-981-4463 for more information on how this service can put you back in touch with the world. TAP is a program of the Arkansas Department of Workforce Education Rehabilitation Services Division.
Republican or Democrat, Hillary or Huckabee, Channel 7 continues to take you on the road to the White House, the only station behind the scenes with the top 2 candidates who have Arkansas ties.
On the road to the White House, the battle begins right here.
I'm Christina Munoz in the state of Iowa.
Count on KATV to bring you complete coverage from Iowa and New Hampshire. KATV Channel 7, on the road to the White House.
Ryan Seacrest standing here in the heart of Times Square. I am here with the mayor of New York City and his friend, Michael Bloomberg, is with us. Now, why do so many people...
Georgina.
This is your daughter. Oh, you just grabbed her. Good to see you, Georgina. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Why do so many people come here on New Year's Eve?
Because it's the center of the world for this one time. This really is New Year's Eve for the whole world. It's just a tradition. It's been that ways, and that's not to say other places aren't just as great, but everybody focuses around Times Square New Year's Eve.
I want your dad to answer this honestly. Will you run for president?
No, I will not run for president, but I will speak out to try to get people to really focus on the issues and to get rid of partisanship and special interests.
Happy New Year to both of you. Nice to see you and meet you, and good to see you again.
All the best. Happy New Year to you and all of you listening.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And thank you for throwing such a great party each and every year. Midnight is rapidly approaching, and we've got a lot of ground to cover before the year ends, including a fantastic live performance by a true superstar. Carrie Underwood is going to be right here singing live in Times Square, and it is a real privilege for me to be co-hosting this show, which for 36 years has been the show to watch when you're counting down to New Year's at home. And an honor for me to do it with a real TV legend. He is with us again, and everybody is thrilled about that. Ladies and gentlemen, back here in Times Square, once again, Mr. Dick Clark.
Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be back for another New Year's in New York. Well, there are about 1 million